Welcome back to the Elite Trainer Academy, brought to you by Mind Pump. In today's episode, I sat down with Adam Schafer. We talked about a problem that I think a lot of trainers face as they're trying to build their business, which is how do I balance my personal life with the business that I'm trying to build? So I asked Adam his views on an appropriate work-life balance. We also talk about effective use of time. How do you avoid wasting time in your business? When do you know it's time to pivot from an idea that you have? We go into all this and much more. If you find this episode valuable, please share. Enjoy the show. What's a business lesson that you wish you would have learned 10 years ago?
Ooh, a business lesson that I wish I would have learned 10 years ago. Probably at the speed at which I move. So I think something that some of the greatest entrepreneurs share in common is how fast they take action. And I think I'm faster than a lot of people, and that has served me. But I think when you start to meet people at even higher levels, you realize how quick they make decisions, and just live with them. And I think a lot of us, and when I say us, I'm overgeneralizing most entrepreneurs, overthink a lot of our moves and overthink and debate. And I mean, we had a discussion today, right? You walked in and we probably talked for a half hour, maybe an hour on something. And I want to entertain that conversation with you because I think it's a great conversation to have with you, just learning and leading and growing a team and all that. But what I know deep down that if I didn't have you and it was just me to make that decision, I would have thought about that for 5 seconds, no matter what, even if it's the wrong decision, right? Because the amount of time and effort that is spent on debating things that don't matter that much is, I think, something that we all are guilty of. And the crazy successful entrepreneurs, they make so many decisions. And you can see that. Another thing, if you may have heard this in comments, you'll see the most busy people. We were just talking about someone off air, right? We were name dropping somebody who we think is worth $500 million or $1 billion. And I know this guy, and I could DM him or text him right now, and within 24 hours or less, he will respond to me. He has to be one of the busiest guys that we know, yet he gets back, and there's no reason for him to necessarily get back to me, but he operates with that speed. And have found that to be in common with the most successful people is the speed at which they operate is unbelievable. And I am always trying to work on that, even though I think that maybe out of our little circle of entrepreneurs, I'm one of the faster ones. I still think I'm slow when I compare myself to someone like that. How fast can I get back to someone? How fast can I make an answer? How fast can I decide something and move on and not dwell on the potential consequences? I think that's something that going back to, especially 10 years, because you're asking me I think I'm okay at it today. 10 years ago, I definitely wasn't. I mean, just 10 years ago in this business, it was one of the first big Achilles heels ever when the four of us founders were building this and we had nobody working with us, and nobody was barely anybody was listening to us. We only had one program or no program to sell at this point. Every idea, every decision was a discussion for hours. Yeah. And we did that for a good couple of years. And I can't remember what the exact thing where we kind of woke up and realized, what the F are we doing? Part of our superpower is we have 4 entrepreneurs and 4 leaders building this one thing, yet we would talk about every decision we're going to make in the company. That was such a horrible use of our time and our skills. And it took a bit for us all to kind of let go. Why are we all making this decision? We all trust each other. We all went into business with each other. So Doug, you make that decision. Justin, you make that decision. And Sal, you make those, and I'll go make these. And we'll fill each other in, but there is no reason to talk about it. And I remember watching the business really, like, there's been these moments where it's leaped to new levels. That was a new level. A new level was just simply realizing, what are we doing? Sitting here discussing this thing that doesn't matter that much. And even if it does matter, like we make the wrong decision, we can correct it and move on. Like that's a thing that I wish I was even better at. And I would go back 10 years and be like, it doesn't matter. Just make the decision and move on.
Yeah. That's like a really weird, funny one for me. Like I find myself fighting that balance a lot. Mm-hmm. I definitely lean more towards like the over analyzing side of that. It's funny. Like I'll even catch myself with just small things, like even responding to a text. It's like, I'll just like put it off. I'll mark it as unread. So I'll come back to it later when it's like, I could just respond to it right there. Like, it's not that big a deal. But it's like, oh, I want to make sure that I say the right thing. I want to make sure I respond to it the way that I want to, as opposed to just, doing it quickly, even though it could be done so quickly. That builds up a lot of like stress over time. Like you just have this stuff in the back of your head that's like gnawing at you. Like, you need to get this stuff done when it could just be done so quickly and so easily.
It's so true. There is another layer to that for me. And speaking of you in particular, is like, I don't mind that in you because that's a nice thing. It's a luxury for me. I have a guy who's outsourcing that thinking for me. Right. You carry that stress. You carry all those things. Then you come to me and I was like, this is the answer. Just go do it. And I'll be the first to admit that maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. I don't really care. Like I believe in this is the way to go. Let's just go. And so a strength is when people like you and I can meet and we can work well together, is we recognize that in each other. I go, oh, okay, I love that. Kyle has a lot of integrity. Kyle really is analytical about stuff. Kyle really thinks about all these things. So that's a benefit to me. So long as he respects my decision making and knows that, like, at the end of the day, like, boss is the boss, and like I trust him and I trust that we're going to do whatever, and you don't hold resentment, because there's going to be a time where I tell you to do something and it's going to be the wrong decision. That's just part of it. But it's okay. I'm not worried about it. So long as you're not worried about it and you and I can move on for it, this will be a dynamic relationship. So, but at some point, if you aspire to lead even more, and like the further up you go and the more things and people and moving parts you have underneath you, the more important that becomes. In fact, we could argue that part of why I'm stuck at the level and I'm not at that guy, the half a billionaire's level that we're talking about, is that he's faster than I am. He's found a way to make all the decisions that, like, all the things that I am stressing out about and I'm trying to figure out and do. Like, he would have came in and been like, what are you doing? I would have done this, done that, done this, done that. And like, I'd be over here still. And so it's like, that's the thing. I would go back and sharpen that sword, because then maybe I would be even faster today.
How do you know when it's time to correct a bad decision? Like, especially, some of these things, like, you put so much time into, like, you make a decision, you're putting up like a lot of time to make it work. How do you know when it's like, all right, this just isn't going to work and it's time to course correct, versus like just doubling down and going even more into it?
So I think I try and like set the terms before. So let's take real world examples, like the one we were talking about before here, with like how we would structure comp plan. And I feel confident in that this is the way to go. Now let's pretend like I don't have the experience and the knowledge, and I'm just making a quick decision. Like, let's just go do this. I would have, if it's something like that, because I do have a lot of experience with that discussion in particular, but let's say I didn't. If I didn't, then it would look something like this, like, let's do this. Let's go implement it. In 6 months, let's measure, is it having a positive effect on our staff, a negative effect on our staff, or a moot? Okay. And then we'll decide from there. And so setting the parameters that I'm going to go test this, if it's a theory and it's not like with what we're talking about, I'm really confident in. I mean, most of my career was managing trainers, managing comp plans, inspiring. Like, that's what I did. So like that stuff I feel really confident. But let's say I didn't, and yet I still made that decision fast. It would sound a little different. It'd be more like, okay, you might be right. Let's agree we're going to do this, this, and this, and then based off of that, we'll decide if it's working or not working. And then if it's not, we'll bail and we'll change ship. I mean, you and I had this discussion, another discussion like that recently with hiring people.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily have that one. I like, there's a little bit of debate back and forth with how exactly to do that. Again, I kind of want to, let's just agree, let's go do this. And then let's not confine ourselves into these rules. If you got to flex the rules or change them a little bit, let's do it. Let's see if it works. If it works, you hire all the right people. We can scale this thing fast enough at the rate that we're doing, then then it's working. But if it's not, let's agree to open up your parameters and maybe you do it this way. And so I think it looks like making a decision, setting markers to measure that within a time frame, and then the difference is the thing, because something may take weeks or months to play out for us to make a fair decision and go, is it work? Because you can't implement, say, a comp plan change and go, 2 weeks later and go like, oh, it's not working. It's like, well, come on, like we haven't seen it play out. So let's agree that we got to see it really play out before we do that. So depending on the thing, but there's other things that we can try and we can quickly decide like, hey, this isn't working. And sometimes something is working, but something else would work better. Another example of that is we're in the middle of that with a marketing switch right now. We've had the same marketing team for 6-7 years now. And up until this year, we just had a walk, the guys and I. And even though you were involved in a very frustrating conversation within the business right now between all of us, the thing that we're all grateful for is that this frustration caused us to make change and move. And had the marketing team done what they had done for the prior 8 years, which is grow every year. Every year this business has grown until this year, that side of the house. The guys were like, well, you wouldn't have wanted us to change. I said, absolutely. I would have made sure we didn't change. If the marketing team was growing us every year, even though there might be another one out there that could have grew us faster, you're right, I probably wouldn't have changed. But because it's not, it's now opened up that discussion like, hey, okay, maybe we've outgrown this marketing team and maybe they're not the best fit for us. Let's go figure out what that move is.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. This is something that, like, Hormozy talks about this all the time of like, why would you give up a, quote unquote guarantee result for a possibility at a slightly higher result? It's like, it just doesn't make sense. Like you have consistency, you have like something you feel pretty confident that works and has shown in the past that it works. Risking that for a potential increase is like, it just doesn't make sense a lot of the time.
It's bird in the hand, two in the bush. Yeah. That's where that comes from, right? Yeah. Like you'd rather have a bird in the hand than two in the bush. And two in the bush sounds nice, but you ain't got it yet. And so why risk the bird you already got in hopes that you'll get two since it's working? But sometimes you lose that bird and you drop it, and then it's like, hey, you may as well go take the gamble on the two since you don't have the one anymore. So, and that's kind of like where we're at right now, is like that makes sense. And so, yeah, those scenarios, there's not like a definitive answer of how long do I decide. It really depends on the thing and what. But I do think that setting the terms. I remember this when I made the decision to make the career switch or to go all in on the career I was pursuing, which was being a trainer at the time. I had different aspirations at the time. I was going to go and finish my degree, and I thought I was going to be a sports trainer or a physical therapist, I thought maybe. But this job thing was like going really well for me, and everybody was like, you should do this. And so I go, okay, like, are they right? Are they not right? I thought about it for days. Like, well, why don't I do this? Like, I'm going to go all in on this. If everyone's telling me that I'm great for this thing, and maybe I am, how about I give myself 1 year? 1 year, I'm going to give it everything I got. If at the end of the year I look back and it hasn't revealed to me or financially and future that this is it, then I can go back to school still. The life is, and so, but I set that for myself, and then I moved towards it, and then it was at the end of the year allowed to unveil what the answer was.
So, kind of going back to the discussion that we started this off on, with that, moving quickly. Something else that we've been talking a lot about recently is not getting distracted by the million other things and ideas that we have and, things that we want to do.
Yeah.
How do you make those decisions of like, you're trying to move quick, but you also want to make sure that the decisions you're making, you're not pulling yourself into distractions?
Yeah.
How do you evaluate that? Like how do you evaluate if something is a good idea or just a distraction?
I'm measuring the ROI, but ROI isn't always dollars. Return on investment could be capital, as far as people capital, could be goodwill capital. It could be money. Many times it's money when you're talking about the business. So it's like, here we have 5 different possibilities. And then also too, what has the least amount of resistance with the most guarantee? So it's like, we have 4 possibilities that you and I can go in a direction in the business, right? That you can start to do. And and by the way, this applies at any level of a business you're at, even if you're a small business and you're like, oh, I'm thinking about adding on meals services to my clients. Oh, I'm thinking about adding this, annual cruise thing that I put together, or I'm going to add boot camp. Like, so this can work at even the small level, all the way to the big level. It's like, okay, of all those great ideas, what has the greatest return for the least effort that I can go execute this? So maybe the annual cruise where I can charge $5,000 a head has the biggest dollar return, but let's be like, how much planning does that take? And how many other people will need to help me, and how likely am I going to get 10, 20, 30 people, where it's like, I could just get up an hour earlier every day and run a boot camp class. And that just means I got to work a little harder, and I can automatically, I've already got 10 people wanting to do that, and that would boost my revenue by this much. Like, that's a good decision. And it's only an hour of my time. I can do that. Like, so it's like looking at all the options, going, which is going to take the least amount of effort for the most guaranteed return. Let's go execute that. And then let's move through it in that manner, versus what I think happens a lot of times, which is you get caught up in the pie in the sky. Like, the cruises thing could be huge, and then maybe Royal Caribbean picks me up, and then you start dreaming, right? And you start thinking of all the best outcomes. So I make peace with the worst outcomes. And boy, would that be a massive time suck and waste if I go through all that effort to do that thing and I get 2 couples to want to do it, and I made hardly any money, and I wasted all that effort. Where it's like, well, what's the worst if I try and do that boot camp class at 5 o'clock in the morning? I wasted a few mornings of getting up and nobody showed up, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm done with that idea. Yeah. Or, holy crap, like, I've got 20 people showing up at 5 a.m. for my boot camp class, and I now just boosted my revenue $2,000-$3,000 a month. Oh, I like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's being able to measure the amount of effort and the speed at which I can test my hypothesis and get my answer back. And so I love things that I can test the hypothesis relatively quick, inexpensive, and I can make that decision like, okay, this is worth my time, or it's not worth my time. I'm out. So
I think what a lot of trainers and entrepreneurs have a hard time with is, like, that all makes sense in the like short term, immediate. I think a lot of times, and I know this for myself too, sometimes weighing those decisions on like a larger scale, like looking at things almost like 3-dimensionally of like, okay, well, maybe I'm waking up an hour early for the boot camp. Nobody's showing up. You give it a month or so and it doesn't turn out, or, you do whatever other idea, and in the short term, it doesn't seem to have any return. But maybe in the long term, if you play that out over the course of like 6 months, a year, 2 years, it actually has like a major impact in the business, whatever the idea is.
Yeah.
How do you weigh those things? Like, cause I think it's pretty easy to like compare things when it's like very 2-dimensional, where I can see like, here's what I did, here's what I got from it. But then it's almost like adding another dimension when you consider like, now extend that over the course of a year or 2 years. And maybe it didn't work out, very well for you in the first like 3 months, but 2 years later, that might have been a really good decision.
Yeah, well, it's also, so part of the equation, right? We're like, within the effort and speed at which you can test your theory is also scalability. That's part of the formula. Mm-hmm. And so some of it where you went to the boot camp example, right? Let's say the boot camp takes a year to build. But what I love about it is it's little effort and it has large upside, large scalability. I mean, the boot camp class could potentially have 30 people in it. Where maybe some other ideas are good ideas, but the scalability of it isn't quite as good. So there's a third dimension, or the fourth dimension even, you could look at it like. So that is part of, we didn't say that or didn't bring that up, but that's also being factored in there, is like, it's something that has low effort, but takes long, but has lots of upward potential and scalability, I'm going to give longer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where if something takes a lot of time capital and doesn't have a lot, I'm not gonna drag that out as long. Does that make sense? Like this is something that's like, okay, this has let's say potential revenue wise, but I do know that I'm capped here, and I'm also working at it. It's already 2 months in and it's really not showing anything. It's like, okay, well, let's play this all the way out. Even if I can grow it in a year, is it worth all that time and effort just to go to here? Probably not. But if it has something that's like, there's no ceiling on it, and it could go, it's like, oh, I'm going to plug away at this a little bit longer. Especially things that are just like, just require a little more effort from me. Things that are just a little more effort, an hour getting up earlier. Like, I don't know how many times Katrina used to joke about this. We've been together for 15 years, and she's been with me through a lot of businesses and a lot of things that I've done. And, I would always bitch about getting up at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I've hated it since I was a trainer, since I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm not a morning person. I'm a night guy for sure. But for as long as she's known me, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And she's like, why do you always do that to yourself? And I'm like, 'cause it's like low hanging fruit for me. Mm-hmm. It's like there's always been this opportunity where it's like, well, if I just get up a little bit earlier, I can do that thing. And even though I don't want to, it's always been a great way. Now, where I've arrived today, I have my dream job. I love what I do. I've been able to scale it beyond anything else I've done, and I don't have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So eventually I built it around what I do, but many times did I find myself working that time or doing that thing, even though I didn't really like it, because I saw it as an opportunity for me it was an easy effort to test these ideas that I had that, ultimately I probably wasn't going to do, or probably wasn't going to want to do forever. But I also was like, I could get up early. I could tough it out to figure this thing out. I'm willing to do that. And so I like stuff like that. I like stuff that just takes a little effort to test my theory. And it doesn't require me quitting my job or stopping the thing or completely pivoting. I love trying to branch off of things that I've off this thing that I'm already got moving forward, then going like, oh, let's try this thing way over here that has nothing to do with that, and that requires a massive pivot. It's like, that's like career change, life change, huge risk, all the above, where it's like, okay, I'm already moving in this direction. What are other avenues that I can kind of branch off this idea and test these ideas to see? And I think, and again, I think this is at every level of business that this is presented to you. And I just threw a couple out there with like food services, boot camps, because these are all ideas I've had and or attempted to do, like, or, the vacation things that you do annually or quarterly with people. And they all present different challenges. They all have different opportunities. And so I love the ones that took little effort to prove if it was a good idea or not. And so I'm always looking at those ideas. And even at the level that we're at now, even though I have support and I can outsource a lot of that, I still approach it as if I was having to make go do those things, because even though I may not be physically having to go do those things, I still have to pay for the person to go do those things. And so it still is impacting the business negatively when you talk about it financially.
Yeah. What do you think are some of the distractions or wastes of time that a lot of trainers find themselves, to kind of keep them stuck?
Doing things that aren't growing you as a person, and that can be anything. And it could be things like watching sports. It could be fantasy football. It could be binge watching Netflix. I had a client one time when I was in my early 20s, and we were so opposite. I love training clients like this too. We did not agree on anything. We had different philosophies, ideology around life. But she was very successful, a little bit older than me, very mature, and she challenged every way of thinking I had, which I liked. I liked to be poking holes in the way I thought, and I love movies. And I'll never forget asking her one time, what's your favorite movie? And she's like, I don't have one. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, she's like, yeah, I don't have a favorite movie. And I'm like, come on, how can you? I said, what movie have you watched at least 5 times? You've got to have a movie that you've watched more than. She goes, I've never watched a movie more than once. And I'm like, what? I thought that was so crazy. She's like, what a massive waste of time. Why? I already seen it. I already know what happens. Why would it? Now, I think it's a horrible existence to live that way forever, right? But what I took from that I realized, because she was very growth minded, she was very driven, and she was already calculating that time. That's an hour that she could have been learning a new skill, or reading a book that made her better at her craft, or putting an extra hour into scaling her business. I think a lot of trainers, a lot of entrepreneurs are very guilty of finding themselves busy, doing a lot of shit that doesn't really move the needle. Yeah. And growing as an individual and growing in your craft has to be one of the best ways to get the return on your investment. And we don't do that a lot. All of us. I could do more. I could do more still, and I've worked on that for a long time.
What's your opinion on the whole work-life balance thing?
So Justin and I had a little bit of a debate on the podcast the other day about that. Like, he made the comment of like, oh, anybody that says they have a work-life balance is full of shit. And I'm like, I would say that, but I also would say it differently. Like, I think when people think work-life balance, they think I have this beautiful balance of I work 60% of the time, and then 10% of the time is dedicated to my relationship, and 10 is dedicated to my activity fun. It's like this pie that you've decided is the perfect balance. That doesn't exist to me. Yeah. There's periods of time when all I think about is work. I'm buried. I'm in the zone. I'm worried, whatever you want to call it. And so a lot of what I'm thinking day and night is about the business. And so I'm way out of whack. Then there's other times where I'm so unplugged from the business, and all I'm thinking about is my son who's sitting across from me and his world and him and I together. And so I don't think it fits in this perfect, pie chart that I think when people present the work-life balance. I think there's times in your life when you are more able to sprint towards a goal or a thing. And at that time, you're all in on that thing. And other times, you're all in another thing. Now, how do I do that as a father today? Well, I waited to be a father for a really long time for a reason, because I know I didn't have work-life balance. I was on a mission to reach a level financially that if and when the time came that I had a kid that I knew needed more attention or needed to be one of the highest priorities in my life, that I could go, I'm not going to go to work today because I'm going to spend all day with my son, and know that I could if I wanted to. I wanted that flexibility before I brought him. Now, I haven't had to do that. There's never been a time where I call the guys and I'm like, hey, I'm not coming in. I need to spend all day with my son, because I've found a way to create that balance for myself. But it came from a lot of hard sprinting and out of balance times to get to that place. And the reason why we know that that's not true either is, as far as having this beautiful balance, is we have great examples of this in sports and your high achievers. Like, rarely ever do you meet the best NBA player or the best football player or the best musician or the best businessman or woman, and they're also the greatest father or the greatest husband or the greatest brother. You tend to give and take a little. I think I could be a better business person, but I sacrifice some of that to be a better father now in my life. And I've awarded myself that flexibility because there was a time before I was a father when I had no balance at all and I was all in on the work thing. So it's now awarded me the ability to go a little bit slower on the business side because I care more about being, like, if you ask me 10 years, my son is 6, or he just turned 6. If you asked me 7 years ago, what do you want to be known most for? I'd say my business acumen, because I cared that much about that and learning and being that guy. If you ask me now, I'd say I want to be known as a great father. So that would be my number one goal. So then my life is built that way as a priority first, and my business acumen is second. But I've earned that ability to do that by being so overly focused on that for the first part of my 30 years of my life. And so that's my description of how I've created what I would consider a balanced work-life balance, because I did it in that order. I don't know how other people would describe it, but I feel today, if you were to ask me, I feel very balanced with that. I also have married somebody who she is freed up. Like she understands that all the things I'm terrible at, and she knows better than anybody the things that I'm good at, and she loves me as a father, and she loves me as a businessman. And so she really allows me to like go all in on those two things, and all the other stuff she takes off my plate. And so because where a lot of other people are having to do a lot of day-to-day stuff that takes 10 minutes here and an hour there and 30 minutes there, I have a partner who has offloaded all of that off of me and goes, go be the best businessman, go be the best father you know how to be. And so I really only have, in my opinion, I only have to divide up those two things. And so it's really easy for me to have that work balance because I have a partner that has recognized it, like, oh man, you ever watch Adam try and email somebody or handle like a software problem or a bill issue at the house? Like, it's an ordeal. I'm a nightmare to watch do it. I'm irritated. It just sucks time. And I'm like, versus where she'll be like, I got that. Don't worry about it. Go play with our son. Or she doesn't have to say it. That's what I go do. So it's like, I think the partner that you decide to spend life with, if you want that beautiful work-life balance of family, work, money, all the things, the person you marry is paramount to the success of that. Otherwise, good luck being the guy or the girl who figures all that out on your own and is supposedly good at all of it. I just don't think that exists.
Yeah. I think the whole conversation is so interesting because you hear so many different opinions from different people on how it should look. This is what you're saying makes the most sense to me. This is like kind of the conclusion I've come to for myself over the last, couple of years is like, it doesn't have to be balanced on like a day-to-day schedule or even on a weekly schedule. Like what you're saying is it was like hustle, grind, sprint for years. Now you've earned the right to kind of have some sort of balance on the back half of that.
Yeah.
Which for me, when I can't remember who it was that I first heard that explanation or definition of what that could look like. But that gave me a lot of like relief because it's really weird. Like I come across a lot of people, family, friends, that I don't think it's done intentionally. I think it comes from a good place, but they almost make you feel bad about not having a balance, where it's like, there's comments where it's like, you should take a day off. Like, make sure you're doing this, you're doing that, like coming from a good place. But, it almost made me feel like, am I doing something like wrong? Or like, should I not be, hustling like this right now? Like, it's a really weird thing, but that's kind of the conclusion I came to is like, I don't care. Like I'm in a place right now for myself. I don't have kids. I don't have a partner. It's like, I can just go all in on this. You know what I mean?
It's actually a compliment to you, and whether they realize it or not, it's a reflection of themselves. So when somebody says something like that to somebody like you, it's because they wish they would have done that, and they see that in you, and it's their own guilt that makes them feel like they need to tell you that because they didn't do that. So it's a compliment. It's a compliment of like, you are on the right path. That is the right way to do it. They've chosen to do life differently. And it's like everybody feels like, and not everybody, but people that do that. Hormozy talks about this too. He talks about other people that comment on that stuff. And that's their own guilt of they didn't do it that way. Or they could, like, how many people told me how I should have done it different, oh, you're going to be so old when you have a kid, and don't you want to be able to play basketball? Like, yeah, well, that's why I stay active and fit and exercise, so I can still be a mid-40, 50-year-old dad and still active with my kid. I chose to play that game. I guess I could have been lazy around activity and, had a kid way earlier, and so that I needed to be in my 30s when he was in his young teens or whatever like that. But I like the way I did it. I think that like you, not being married, not having a kid, if there was going to be a time I was going to be selfish about all the inputs that I was taking was to better me and only me, this is the time to do it. Because at some point in your life, some of the inputs, some of the things that you do won't be just about you. It'll be about your partner, and it'll be about the child that you're raising. And when that happens, like, you will have to make that decision. There'll come a time in your life, depending on how good you've got at stacking all these growth metrics and stuff, where I have to go, like, and I'd make this decision hits me every week where it's like, there's some stuff that I need to be doing on the business right now. We've got this going on. We got that going on. It's Saturday morning. I should probably spend some time with that. But it's like, nah, my son just crawled in my bed right now. It's like, I'll get to it later.
Yeah.
Like, I can do that now. Not everybody has that flexibility but it's not a privilege thing. It's I created that leverage for myself, and I created that by being a 20-year-old like you, who said, I don't need the work-life balance right now. I'll get it later when I think it really matters and when I really want it. And so, which means you might miss out on the young 20-year-old listening to this. You might miss out on some of the Vegas trips, or the cool parties or the drunken Friday nights. Like, you might miss out on some of those things, but those pale in comparison to the flexibility of being able to take your son on a weekday to the movies, or, shut work down whenever you feel like it, or be there for every bedtime. I mean, that trumps any Saturday party thing I missed because I was grinding and everybody else was work-life balance. We worked all hard Monday through Friday. Let's take Saturday and rock. Like, nah, like, I mean, I also think that someone who's young, because so many people think different, and then it's, YOLO and doing all the things. It's like, I also saw that there was an advantage, because I wasn't the smartest. I wasn't talented. But I was like, I could sacrifice and I could work hard. And if all the guys my age and girls my age in their 20s was taking Saturdays and Sundays off, and I was willing to come in and work and do that, like, and if I do that a couple weekends and consistently do that, and I do that for months and I do that for years, like, how much further can I get? And like, and how much can I catch up? And then once I caught up, it was like, how much can I get past them by continuing to be that way? And it's like, and then now looking back in my mid 40s, I can go like, oh yeah, it was worth it. Yeah. It's definitely worth it to do it that way.
Yeah. Well, I think what really helped me too is just understanding that, like, the goals that I have for myself and the vision that I have for myself is just different from what other people have for themselves. So that was like comforting too. Cause it's like, this person that's trying to like give me this, well-meaning advice is they just have a different goal for themselves and they don't see the vision that I have. Like, I have very ambitious goals, and like, there's things that I want to do that I don't think the average person will ever even consider wanting to do. And so that was comforting too. It's like, that's fine. Like, that's just, they don't want to go where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
What I've also found really interesting too, though, and I would say working here at Mind Pump from day one, I think I felt this, but even more so the last probably like 6 months, is that I think when you're doing the right thing, surrounded by the right people, you don't really feel like you need it as much, like the balance.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, it's a really interesting thing, like, especially with this team we're cultivating right now, like, if you can surround yourself with other people that have the same ambitions and the same drive and the same hustle, it's like, there's something about that makes you not really care so much for like the balance. Like, I don't feel like I need to go out on a Friday night because I have a good time here at work. Like, we're hustling, we're grinding, but like, we're having a good time. Like, we're all on the same page. We're all doing the same thing. We're all, we all have the same goals, and I enjoy that. So it's like, it's also something too that I found is like, when you're doing the right thing in the right place with the right people, like, I don't think you need it quite as much.
This is the formula for truly finding the thing that you're passionate about. For sure, one of the greatest hacks, or I don't know, call it luck, I guess, because I kind of fell into the job. that happened to me was getting a job as a personal trainer, not real thinking that was going to be my path at the time, and then absolutely falling in love with it. This time, I'm 20 years old. I live across the street from 24 Hour Fitness. I live with my grandma. And, we had what we called fit hours, which were a couple hours a day, 2-3 hours a day, where you walk the floor, re-rack weights, try to book new appointments, made phone calls. And then you had clients, if you had clients. And when you first started, you had just a couple if you're lucky. And I didn't have very many. But I was at the gym all day, every day, 7 days a week. And sometimes I was playing basketball. Other times I was mingling with people. Other times I was working out. Many times I was talking to my peers that were good at sales and listening to their sales presentations because I was fascinated with, wow, some of these guys were so good, and talking to trainers that were more experienced than me. But no one told me I should do that. Or like, I wanted to be there. I loved being there. I just liked the atmosphere. I liked what I was doing. And so it never felt like work. But when you think about it, of course it was all work, and it was all making me better at what I did. But I didn't approach it that way. It wasn't like, I need to do these things. It was like, no, like I remember being home and being like bored and going like, I got nothing to do. Like, I'm gonna go back to the gym. Like, it's cool there. Like, yeah. I like my peers. I like the stuff I was doing. And so I just found myself going back there like every day. And when I look back now, 20 plus years later, I'm like, man, that's a good sign that you're probably in the right profession if even when you're not being paid, you're still at the job.
Yeah.
That means you probably found what you're supposed to do. And I think if more people focused on that than like, I'm making this much money, or I'm just like, no, what's the job or the thing you do that you do even when you're not getting paid? You open up the book related to it, or you're online reading about it at 9:00 at night when you're home and no one's watching. No one's, the boss isn't going to pay you extra or pat you on the back. Like, good job, Kyle. I saw you studying last night at 9 p.m. Like, I don't know if you did that or not. Only you know that. But boy, what a hack into finding your purpose and finding the thing you're supposed to do when you naturally do those things, even when you're not to. And I think most people trying to find their thing should be looking for the thing that you don't count your hours when you're reading about it or learning about it. You just do it because you like it and you want to be better at it and good at it, and you enjoy that process. Like, for sure, that is the secret sauce to find it. Because even if you're not very good at the thing right now, you will be. You'll eventually get there. Those hours stack up, and that experience and all that reading and staying up late, and then the next thing you know, like, oh, you are good at that thing,
Yeah, I think you can only white knuckle your way through so much.
Totally.
This parallels exactly with, what we teach clients with fitness. Like, the clients that are going to have the best results are always going to be the ones that find a way to enjoy what they're doing. Like the mistake that, unexperienced trainers make is they do what is maybe the quickest or, the quote unquote, like, fastest way to get their client to the results. Maybe it's running on a treadmill every single day, but it's like, clients hate doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody likes doing that. And so it's like, maybe you're going to see some progress at first, but they're going to stop eventually. And so, like, you can only white knuckle your way so far. And it's the same with, I think, business and your career. Like, if you don't enjoy doing it, you just don't want to do it.
Oh, no, it's just like training clients. I think experienced trainers figure this out, is that I have all the X's and O's. I have the macro breakdown to get you to get on stage and be a bodybuilder if you want. Like, you want to be the most shredded person in the room, I can get you there. Like, I know the math, I know the macros to get there. But most people, and very few people will white knuckle it all the way to that level. And so then, okay, then how do I take this normal person who's just trying to lose 10 pounds or just get in shape? If I have the answer, I could get them all the way to the craziest level. I already have the answers to that. Well, how do I get them to just lose their 10 or 15 pounds and then keep it off for the rest of their life? Oh, well, if I'm going to do that, I've got to find ways to create good behaviors and change their lifestyle in a way that they enjoy it and they like it. And so that creates a new level or layer to training and coaching that typically comes with experience, and not young early trainers don't figure this out till later. Like, they're hung up on they just learned the macro thing. I understand how to calculate macros, and I know how to write a good meal plan, and or I'm super motivating and I rah my clients to do good in their workouts. No, this is the game of behavior change. And can I get my client to want to change behavior and be excited about it? No different than getting the young entrepreneur to find the job he's passionate and loves doing. It's if I can get them to unlock that, they're going to be successful. How exactly they get there, there's a million different ways to do it. And some will be fast, some will be slow. It doesn't matter, but they'll be successful. Clients the same way. It's if they love the process and enjoy that part, and if I can get them to enjoy that part, they're going to be successful. It's just a matter of time. And so if more trainers thought that way, we'd probably be more successful with getting people in shape, I think.